Let me take you back. Let me take you all the way back to when I was about 4 years old. I was not as intelligent as I am now. Not a big stretch, but I mean, I'm only a slightly more intelligent than I was when I was 4 years old. But I had a cousin named James, and he was dumber than me, okay, because he would always just do whatever I told him to do. He was my bigger, older cousin, but we got bored one day. We were like 3, maybe 4 years old. We were little guys, and we had a big old farm and everything, and we just got bored one day, so I said, James, come on, follow me. We grabbed my grandfather's wheelbarrow and went into his garden and pulled up every single beet that was in his garden prematurely. Now, this is not our fault. This is not our fault, okay? See, we had been slave trade labor about 3 or 4 days earlier in Grandpa's garden, a.k.a. Papa, because we had been pulling his potatoes. And I'm like, look, James, there's more stuff to dig up out of the dirt. So we went and did it. We brought it in the wheelbarrow, and we brought it to my mother, her younger sister, James's mom, Aunt Cheryl, and their mother, a woman affectionately referred to as Meemaw. Okay, raise your hand if you ever had a Meemaw. Okay, all right, okay, you know, I figured I knew who to look at. I knew who to look at. So when we got there with our haul, with all these beets in the wheelbarrow, they were not nearly as excited as we thought they should be. Not at all. I mean, not only did they not give us a popsicle, they didn't give us a piece of candy either. That's the bad news. It's about to get worse. My mother looks at it and says, you have just wasted the crop. We cannot do anything with it. It's done. They're premature. That we've been waiting for weeks, and now they're done. So my mother says, do you want us to spank you, or do you, because I was raised on spankings. Raise your hand if you was raised on spank. Okay, all right. That's why y'all so awesome today. There you go. So my mother says, you want us to spank you, or want your daddy to spank you when you come home? Well, that ain't hard science to do. I did that math real quick. We want you to spank us, Mama. So Big Mama and Aunt Cheryl, they did a thing. Meemaw swoops in. Meemaw says, well, do you want us to spank you, or you want Papa to spank you when he comes in from playing golf? Like, now if I had been literate and had read the Constitution, I could have broke out this knowledge on my grandmother that says, in the Fifth Amendment, we are protected as American citizens against double jeopardy. I cannot be punished or even tried twice for the same crime against humanity. But I did not know the Constitution at that point, and so we wound up for round 2. My grandfather comes home, and he evidently hadn't have a very good round of golf on the golf course, and so he comes in and he goes, what the heck happened? He says, I'm going to spank you. And I'm like, wait, can we just put him back in the dirt? Can we just I will go buy you more beet seeds. I will do anything I can not to get another spanking, okay? I don't know what it will take. I promise you right now, family, if you don't spank me a third time, I will never touch a beet for the rest of my life. And that is a promise that I have kept for 41 years, okay? Because in my understanding, my small little mind, beets equals spankings, okay? There you go. Beets equals spanking. So here's the deal. My father is sitting here tonight, and I just want you guys, before you are leaving the house of the Lord tonight, just go up and let him know how disappointed you are in him as a father, that he let such egregious things happen to the young and impressionable hearts of America's children, okay? Just do that for me. Thanks. That'd be great. That'd be awesome. So listen. Thanks, Kelly. So I'm not the only one under double jeopardy, right? If you read chapter 25, like Kevin was walking us through here a moment ago, you see that Paul is also under double jeopardy. Or maybe I should say quadruple jeopardy. Because he's been tried by the Jewish Sanhedrin. He's now been tried by Felix, the Roman. I'm just going to call him governor because that word's easier to say. He's been tried by Felix, the governor. He has even stood up in front of the crowd who has tried to kill him and just shared what he thinks and believes about Jesus, right? And we are on the brink of yet another trial here in chapter 25, which is going to bleed into another one in chapter 26. So this joker is like being grilled, walking through trials left and right. You think at some point we just go, hey, we're done, right? I mean, nobody can prove me to be guilty, so let me free, take off the handcuffs. I got to go back on another mission trip, right? But that's not the case. See, this little piece here, what we're going to hear back in chapter 24, the last line is that this guy Felix, the governor, he has to go away. And then behind him, Emperor Nero is going to be sending in a guy named Festus. Yes, we're trading a Felix for a Festus. Just stay with me here, all right? Felix was so murderous, so corrupt, so vain, so unjust that Nero had to recall him to Rome. Emperor Nero, the guy who would be written down in history as taking our foremothers and forefathers and burning them alive in cages to light his gardens at night. That guy who would throw men and women and children into the ring to be eaten alive by lions and bears and all kinds of animals. That guy had to bring Felix in and go, hey, bro, tone it down a little bit. That's where we're at, right? So Felix goes home. Festus comes in, as Kevin said, he knows nothing about the Jews. He knows nothing about their system of worship. He knows nothing about the theology. He's like, hey, y'all want to go get a BLT? And no, we don't. We're Jews. We don't eat the B of the BLT. So listen to what happens next here, beginning in chapter 25, verses 1 through 12. This is where we find ourselves. The good Dr. Luke says, now 3 days after Festus had arrived in the province of Judea, okay, like the middle, the part of Israel. Let's just call it Israel, okay? He arrives in the province. He went up to Jerusalem from Caesarea. And the chief priests and the principal men of the Jews laid out their case against Paul, and they urged him, asking as a favor against Paul, that he be summoned to Jerusalem. Why? Tells us right here in the same verse, because they were planning an ambush to kill him on the way. But Festus replied that Paul was being kept at Caesarea and that he himself intended to go down there shortly. So he said, let the men of authority among you go down with me. And if there's anything wrong about the man, let them bring charges against him. And so he stayed among them not more than 8 or 10 days, and he himself went down to Caesarea. And the next day he took his seat on the tribunal and ordered Paul to be brought. Now, when he'd arrived, the Jews who came down from Jerusalem stood around him, bringing many and serious charges against him that they could not prove. Now, Paul argued in defense, neither against the law or the Jews, nor against the temple, nor against Caesar have I committed any offense. But Festus, wishing to do the Jews a favor, said to Paul, do you wish to go up to Jerusalem and there be tried on these charges before me? But Paul said, I'm standing before Caesar's tribunal where I ought to be tried. To the Jews, I've done nothing wrong, as you yourself know very well. If then I am a wrongdoer and I have committed anything for which I deserve to die, I do not seek to escape death. Wow. Whoa. Okay. Like Paul's all in here, right? I do not seek to escape death. But if there's anything to their charges against me, no one can give me up to them. I appeal to Caesar. And then Festus, when he had conferred with his council, he answered, to Caesar you have appealed, and to Caesar you shall go. Okay, is it just me? Maybe it's just me, okay? I don't know. But you read this chapter, these 12 verses, and you go, guys, can we just get over this already? Like, it's been 2 years. Y'all have been hating on Paul for 2 years. You've been trying to plot an ambush to kill him for 2 years. Can you just, I don't know, do Paul a favor, go hate on somebody else for 15 minutes, let the guy take a breathing break, and then you can come back and harass him all you want. Like, I just want to say, guys, get over it. But here's the reality. This is where we're going to jump in tonight. Evil never rests. It never blinks, it never stops, it never takes a lunch break. It's 24/7, 365, and it's been that way since the Garden of Eden. I would just tell you that there's an enemy, and he's stalking you. He's been doing so since the garden. When I say he's been stalking you, I mean any person who is alive, breathing oxygen on this planet. But in particular, to something Greg said during our feedback time, if you are following Christ, you've got a big old fluorescent glow-in-the-dark LED bullseye painted on your heart, okay? He's coming after you. His evil that he wields against us is relentless, all right? If you don't believe me, let me just take you back to some of these Sunday school lessons that maybe you have heard about. Esther. Y'all know the story of Esther in the Bible? A little teenage girl dukes it out with the vice president of the nation because he wants to kill not just a lot of Jews, he wants to kill every Jew on the planet. You talk about evil. That's what Esther is facing, and God helps her overcome hate and Haman, right? And then you got this guy Naboth. Naboth, all we know about Naboth is he's just got this really cool vineyard. He's just got this really cool grapevine. And there's a guy in the land who wants it. He wants it so bad that he gets his wife to spread some lies about him And then they take this guy and kill him. And then the other guy takes charge of Naboth's vineyard. His name was Ahab, and that guy Ahab was king. Let me tell you about another Jewish king, Herod. He had John the Baptist, Jesus' very cousin, killed, beheaded in a dungeon. We have been facing evil, dealing with evil since Genesis chapter 3. That's page 2 in my Bible. Okay, so for like over 1,200 pages, okay, we've been dealing with evil. It never rests. It never sleeps. It's there. I'm going to confess something to you. Maybe, I don't know, maybe I have at some time in my life, at some point in my past, I've been so mad with somebody, I could have just killed them, right? I don't know, and I don't let that alarm you as your pastor just confessing. I don't know. I haven't always been a pastor. I'm assuming that I got mad enough one time, I was like, But here's what I do know. I do know that I've not been that mad for 2 whole years. Two years where I think about nothing but killing somebody. I plot a plan. I lie and I manipulate. I try to put the plan into action. I've never been that mad. But that's what's going on in this story. And if that's not sad enough, let me make it even sadder for your souls. Look at verse 2. Who is it? Is it the scoundrels of Jerusalem? Is it the dregs of society? No. Look at verse 2. It's the chief priests and the principal men of the Jews. Dude, that would be like opening up the newspaper one day and finding out that the pastor, the elders, the deacons of the Root Church have been, murdered somebody. Or like turning on CNN or Fox News and all of a sudden hearing that Billy Graham is in cahoots with the mob. Like, how heartbreaking would that be that you find out that somebody who's supposed to be loving God and caring for those around him or her is actually actively working against them? That's heartbreaking, isn't it? Like, how sad is that? There's a great David in my life I've been listening to recently. His name is David Guzik. He's a pastor out in California, because there are Christians in California. And so Pastor David Guzik, he says this about these men right here. He says, if your religion makes you a liar and a murderer, there's something wrong with your religion. I would just add the lesser David here, and your heart. There's something wrong with your religion and your heart. Listen to me. If your religion embraces deceit, it's wrong. If your religion allows for murder or for lust or for treachery, trade it in. It's broken. Get rid of it. These religious men are lying. They're manipulating people. They're bringing false accusations, and they are attempting murder, okay? Evil never rests. I don't want to this hit me. Maybe this is, I don't know how this is washing over you. I didn't hey, welcome to church tonight. Evil never rests, right? Right. This is an awful pep rally, Pastor David. I don't know that I need to twist many of your arms to believe this, right? I mean, we have people in our congregation who came from other countries. They know all about evil. We got guys sitting right here tonight from SLA. I don't even know the shambles and the brokenness and just the upset and the heartache that you're walking out of and trying to find sobriety and hopefully Jesus on top of that. But you know evil is a reality. Some of us sitting in this very room, man, we've been treated in such a despicable manner by not just coworkers, not just by neighbors, but our very own family. I don't know that anybody in here needs me to convince you that evil never rests. But maybe you're sitting here like, evil? Now come on, Pastor Dave, that's a big word. I mean, that's a scary, hairy word, right? Well, let me just quote my new favorite theologian, Lincoln. I told you guys last Saturday I was going to jump on a plane, head up to New York, and on Tuesday I stood in front of the women's ministry of Black Rock Community Church, this massive church up in Somewheresville, Connecticut. Fairfield, let's go with Fairfield. And that just sounds as scary to me as it does you, that I was in a room filled with nothing but women doing kind of like a parenting seminar with them. And afterwards, my buddy Matt and his wife Ashley, they were college students of ours right here at Crosswinds years ago on campus at USF. They got 2 little kids, and I was up there spending some time with them. Matt says, hey, can we give you a tour of the church? I said, sure. So he's on the security team there. So he goes and gets a key, and we're like walking around looking at, the children's ministry area, the youth ministry hangout place, the church museum. They have a church museum, okay, with all the pictures of the pastors, all right? I want to start us a museum somewhere, okay? And took us into the sanctuary. Now, the sanctuary was locked, and so we got a key to get in there, but it was dark, and the lights were on a timer, and so we couldn't, see very much. It was a massive room. We couldn't see very much, and so Matt just reaches into his pocket and pulls out his trusty flashlight that he carries 8 days a week. Okay? It's just what he does. So he's, shining it, and his two little kids are running around, squealing and gleaning and everything, and little Lincoln, 4-year-old son, he goes, "Daddy, why do you always have a flashlight?" And as Matt's just, he's shining around that's the stage, and here's the balcony, and there's the sound booth. He's just showing. He goes, "Buddy, you know why Daddy always has a flashlight?" And then little Lincoln, a 4-year-old kid, goes, "It's because of the naughty guys, isn't it?" "Yeah, buddy, it's because of the naughty guys." Let me tell you something, church. If a 4-year-old kid knows that evil is a reality, let it not take any of us by surprise. Evil never rests. That's the bad news. But I want you, it's evident from this chapter. I want you to see something else that's evident in this story. God is always at work. Evil might not rest, but neither does God. Let me just if I can remember everything here. God uncovers this plot back here in the previous few chapters that is looking to claim Paul's life. He exposes the plot. He sends Paul from Jerusalem to Caesarea with his own personal army, bankrolled by none other than Caesar himself. He's put Paul up, not in some dungeon, not even, some prison somewhere. He's got him at Herod's palace. And then he's protected him in not one, but 2 different trials. God is way active in Paul's life, protecting and providing and steering everything according to his heavenly will, okay? Evil, yes, it never rests, but neither does our God. I want you to see that. And in fact, I want to drive that home to your hearts tonight as we continue in the story. I want to read one more passage here to you from Acts chapter 26, beginning in verse 13. Let's just dig down a little deeper on that theme. Evil, yes, it's there, but so is our God. Listen to this, verse 13. Now, when some days had passed, Agrippa the king and Bernice arrived at Caesarea and greeted Festus. And they stayed there many days. Festus laid Paul's case before the king, saying, "There's a man left prisoner by Felix," my predecessor, "and when I was at Jerusalem, the chief priests and the elders of the Jews laid out their case against him, asking for a sentence of condemnation against him." A sentence of death is what he's saying, okay? They want his skin, all right? Verse 16, "I answered them that it was not the custom of the Romans to give up anyone before the accused met their accusers face to face and had the opportunity to make his defense concerning the charge laid against him." Okay, so when they came together here, I made no delay. But on the next day, I took my seat on the tribunal and ordered the man to be brought. But when his accusers stood up, they brought no charge in his case of such evils as I supposed. Rather, they had certain points of dispute with him about their own religion and about a certain Jesus who was dead, but whom Paul asserted to be alive. Can you just imagine how that sounds to a guy representing the greatest and the grandest and the richest and the most powerful government on earth? So the guy died? Yeah. Who killed him? Well, Rome did. Then he's dead. No, but listen, he's not. He's Jesus. No, when we kill somebody, we're the Romans. We kill them, they stay dead. Yeah, not this guy. He's Jesus. Just imagine how silly that must sound to Festus. Verse 20, "So being at a loss as how to investigate these questions, I asked whether he wanted to go to Jerusalem to be tried there regarding them. But when Paul had appealed to be kept in custody for the decision of the emperor, I ordered him to be held until I could send him to Caesar. And then Agrippa said to Festus, 'I would like to hear the man myself.' And so he said, 'Tomorrow you will hear him. And next week, you guys will hear what Paul has to say.'" That's going to be Acts chapter 26. So there's a little bit of a sidebar conversation happening here between a guy named Festus and a guy named Agrippa. Some of your translations may say Herod or Herod Agrippa. So if you're thinking to yourself, because it's like Kevin said, Festus has no idea what a Jewish guy does, or a Jewish woman leads her family, or what Jewish children do, or games they play. He has no idea about the Jews. So he gets Agrippa and he goes, dude, can you explain to me this Paul guy? Can you explain to me what's going on here? Help me understand this. I got to write a letter to my boss named Nero, and I don't want to be like, hey, figure it out. Yours, Festus. So he goes, tell me what I should say. So they're having this sidebar conversation. If you're thinking to myself, wait a second, this is Herod. There's a lot of Herods in the book of Acts. You're absolutely right. Let me tell you who this Herod is. He's the great-grandson of Herod the Great. If you want to keep score, Herod the Great tried to kill Jesus when he was born at Bethlehem. Okay? His grandfather, Herod Antipas, Herod Antipas, King Herod the Great's son, King Herod Agrippa, the one here, his grandfather, he succeeded in killing John the Baptist. Well, then after Herod Antipas was King Herod Agrippa the first. Guess who he killed? James. Whoever said it, James. And now Paul is standing in front of his son, King Herod Agrippa the second. Wonder how this is going to work out. If your name is Herod in the New Testament, you kill people, okay? But listen to what Festus has to say about Paul's accusers. They are absolutely tireless. The accusers in Paul's life are tireless. Let me take you back here. Look at this. They're calling out multitudes of multiple accusations, right? They're lying. They're making false accusations. They're manipulating Felix and now Festus, and they're calling for the death sentence. The accusers are tireless. I just wonder, multiple accusations, lying, deceit, manipulation, and calling for a death sentence on top of that. I wonder if that sounds like anybody else, any of us in here know. Satan. Do you not know that the Bible calls him the accuser? The accuser of the brethren. The accuser of the brothers. Did you not know that? He lies. He accuses. He uses religious speak. He tells you exactly how you don't match up to God. He reminds you of all of your blistering failures. And then he says, with great joy and great glee, and all of that results in your death sentence. But the accuser doesn't get the final word. I think I've got Revelation chapter 12, verse 10 up here. Look at this. Look at what John, what God's Holy Spirit tells us in the book of Revelation, because the book of Revelation is the last book of the Bible, and this is how it's going to end. This is how it's going to go down right here. It says, I heard a loud voice in heaven saying, now the salvation and the power of the kingdom of God and the authority of his Christ have come, because the accuser of our brothers has been thrown down. He accuses them day and night before our God. There is a day coming, my friends, where his lies will be ceased. There's coming a day when his talk is going to be stopped. There's coming a day when his authority and his power and his manipulation over us is going to come to a crashing, halting, bloody end. Can anybody just say hallelujah over that? Yeah. I'm looking forward to that day. Because I don't think I'm the only one in here who's suffering from his accusations, right? He's lying, he's manipulating, he's trying, he's throwing all these accusations out there, and he's calling for our death. But I want you to notice what Paul has never done. Paul's never made his appeal to Facebook. Paul's never went out and bought the best lawyer that money can buy. Paul's not reverting and relying upon his own deceit and treachery. No. In fact, look what he's doing. He's just speaking the truth. The truth will always overcome deceit. That's biblical. And I just want to remind you again who truth is. Because I think a lot of us think that what truth is the question. It's who truth is. According to John 14, verse 6, who is truth, church? Jesus. I am the way, the truth, and the life. In fact, I just, at the parent seminar on Tuesday, we just banged out John 10:10 all day, all morning long. There is a thief, Jesus says, and he comes only to steal, to kill, and to destroy. But I have come that you may have life and life abundantly. There is an accuser. He is tireless. But our God is even more tireless on our behalf, and powerful. He wields his truth against Satan's vicious lies and overcomes. Let me close here by just asking a question. I was talking to Kevin about this and Carl a little bit, because in a couple of weeks you're going to be hearing from Carl about these closing chapters of the book of Acts. We've kind of been in it since Acts 21, right? I mean, it's something, a switch got flipped in Acts 21, right? Like since the last part of 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, next week, 26, we just kind of been in this courtroom. We've been in a courtroom in Jerusalem or a courtroom in Caesarea. It's just been different for the past 4 or 5 weeks, right? I mean, we're not like showing you maps anymore up on the screen. We're not like, getting our passport stamped and following Paul around. There's no miracles. There's no sermons where thousands of people come to know Jesus. It's just like, and then he said this, and then he said that, and he said this, and he said, and then he went there, and he said this, and he said that again. It's just kind of slowed down, right? Is it just me? Can we just be honest? You don't have to raise your hand or nod your head or stand up or anything. But am I the only one who goes, well, this just ain't as exciting as the first 21 chapters of Acts? Anybody else? Yeah, some of y'all, yeah, I get it. So why? What's that? Yeah, it's not exciting and it slows down, right? Yeah. So why? Why is this in here? Why do we have Acts 21, Acts 22, Acts 23, Acts 24? Stay with me, Acts 25, Acts 26. Why? Why do we have those chapters in God's Word? Well, 2 reasons, probably 16,000 reasons, but two I'll go over tonight. Number 1, it's true. It happened this way. And number 2, I want to just bury this in your heart tonight. God, He stands with us in our trials. Let me take you back. Tell me, church, when has Paul been alone? Tell me, church, when has Paul been abandoned? When has Paul been vulnerable? When has Paul even been so much as discouraged? Because there's this line back there a few chapters ago when Paul got discouraged. Jesus shows up in the flesh and stands beside the dude and tells him what's going to happen. God does not abandon his people. God does not forsake his children. In fact, as we prayed a couple weeks ago when that hurricane hit, like, God, we're not praying you send that storm somewhere else. It's a storm. It's got to hit somebody. Just stand in the storm with us. That'll be sufficient. God stands in our trials with us. That's good news. You don't take it from me. You could ask a guy named Daniel and his 3 friends, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. They went into a fiery furnace. 3 guys got thrown in. 4 guys was walking around in the flames. Daniel does a night in a lion's den. The Spirit shuts their mouth. Esther could tell you about the storms that she endured. Naboth could tell you about it. John the Baptist. I'm telling you, all these stories, you got to balance it all out. Sometimes John the Baptist loses his head, and sometimes, the good guy wins. Esther prevails, right? I don't believe this hocus-pocus theology that they teach on television. I'm simply saying we do what the black ink on the white page says. That's what we do. I just want you to understand something. If God stands with us in our trials, and I believe that He does, He literally is walking on the waves in the middle of a storm on the Sea of Galilee to get to His disciples. If He stands with us, then what are we waiting on? What are we waiting for? You see, Jesus called Paul to be a witness, right? That's what we've been talking about for 7 months. Oh, well, Felix is going to get in the way? Yeah, I'll still be a witness. Oh, they're going to try to ambush me and kill me? I'll still be a witness. Oh, they're going to lie and fabricate the truth and manipulate and accuse? I'll still be a witness. Church, will you witness? No matter what the accuser, the enemy throws at you, will you still be a witness? Listen, I love you, and so I'm going to just wrap it up right here. Maybe you're in here tonight and you're in the middle of one of these trials. Maybe this is your first night here. I don't know. Maybe a storm blew in on Thursday afternoon. I don't know. Okay? You're not here by accident. You're not here by mistake. You're not here because you're lucky or because Iggy dragged you. No, you're here because God the Father wants you here to hear about His Son Jesus. He stands with us, pierced hands and all, in the storm. You are not alone. And so if you want to talk more about this Jesus that stands in the storm with us, just like George talked with me about last week and prayed to put his faith in Christ, and man, don't go. Let's talk after the service. Or if you just want some encouragement or just you want to just be prayed with or prayed over, let us know. Don't walk back out of those doors into that storm waiting on you all alone. Let's introduce you. Let us introduce you to the God who stands in the storm with you. Let me pray for you.